Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in for this post-fight reaction. This is UFC 202, Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor picks up a split decision victory over Nate Diaz in one of the best fights I have seen in my entire life watching MMA. I mean, I think this rematch definitely lived up to the hype. A lot of ups and downs in this fight, and needless to say, I don't know about you, Alex, but according to our last video, we posted reasons why Conor McGregor would lose. I have to say that I'm pretty shocked at this outcome. What about you?
Yeah, I think the fight was fantastic. It was going both ways in the fight. The crowd was going crazy of what's going on. There was a bunch of great moments for Conor beating up Diaz, and then Diaz all of a sudden had a great shining moment in the later rounds, and Conor somehow got another wind of
energy
and just kept with it with Diaz and was able to squeak it out.
Yeah, I think this fight was crazy. I think Conor came out exactly the way he didn't say he was going to come out.
Yeah.
He came out exactly how he had to. And one of the reasons why I was such a big naysayer on Conor McGregor being able to beat Nate Diaz was because I didn't think Conor would be able to go 5 rounds if it had to. And I knew Nate Diaz would be durable enough to be able to hang in there and never be out of it. So Conor was telling everybody all leading up to this fight, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fight the same way that I did in the first fight. I'm going to back him up against the cage. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, not really. He didn't fight the same at all. He fought very different. He conserved his energy. He really wasn't active as far as any movement. He really wasn't, how can I say, pushing the pace nearly as much as he did in the first fight. The first fight, he came out guns a-blazing right at Nate Diaz, just exchanging. And my thoughts going into the fight was, well, you said you were going to fight the same way, so I know you're going to lose again. There's no way you're going to go 5 rounds fighting at that pace. And I'm like, I'm just a bystander, a observer, and a fan of this sport, and here you are, a champion and a fighter, and you're telling me you're going to come out and fight the same? Like, come on now. I mean, I think that, I would like to think that you're not that stupid, Conor, but he didn't. So he basically just bullshitted everybody. Yeah, so basically he just bullshit everybody. He's like, I'm going to go out smoking, I'm going to, do this and that. He didn't, but he came out the perfect game plan.
Yeah, I think it was the greatest game plan for Conor to, slow down in that fight and really pick him apart with the leg kicks, because in the past fights, Diaz has always had problems with those leg kicks. He has his leg always out, flat foot, which is always open for that leg kick. And like a fight with Rafael dos Anjos, he was just tearing Nate apart with those leg kicks, and that's how he defeated Nate. And Conor came out with a great game plan by picking apart that leg and really slowing down Nick in his movement.
Yeah, Conor definitely fought different, and I have to admit, Conor dropped Nate quite a bit in this fight. He dropped him, 3 times, I think?
Yes.
So he did phenomenal for the first 2 rounds. The 3rd round is when Nate started to really pick it up. He started to put combinations together. He started to connect and put Conor up against the cage and really sapped his energy by grappling him and just brawling with him in tight. And, Conor hit he hit a low point in the fight. He was getting hammered toward the middle of the fight there, and I didn't think Conor was going to be able to make it. Honestly, I think it was in the 3rd round when Diaz really started to take it to him, and holy crap, man! I didn't think he was going to make it. But
and that kind of answered my question from the previous video. I asked, how is McGregor's chin going to be? How is he going to endure Diaz's punishment if he does gas out or if he gets caught again? How will Conor react when he gets hit by Diaz? Diaz was swarming all over him. Diaz was catching him on the chin plenty of times, and Conor was able to stick it out and keep moving forward in the fight. And that kind of answered my question: can he take a punch?
Yeah, and he answered that pretty big. He got a second wind, to say the least, and he was able to push. But then again, we've seen at the end of the 5th round, toward the end there, he hit another rock bottom. Nate Diaz ended up getting him up against the cage, started to out-grapple him, started to land some shots. And then at the very end of the 5th round, the final seconds, Nate finally gets that takedown that he tried to get several times during the fight and failed to do. And man, I was thinking in my head, as a Diaz fan, as a guy who picked Diaz to win, I was like, please, can we just have a 6th round? Because it's one thing to get your second win. You ain't gonna get a third win. I mean, no one ever talks about getting a third win. Once your second win's gone and passed, you're done.
Yeah, it's almost like the Ultimate Fighter going 2 rounds and see if you want to go. If they go to a 3rd round, you always want to wish, let's go one more round and see what goes on.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm like, damn, what? But I respect to McGregor, respect to him. He got it done. But I think now it starts to shift to Nate Diaz. Nate was outstruck pretty bad in the first couple rounds. It wasn't until his stamina and just grit carried him to victory, and in my opinion, the last 3 rounds. And this goes to the decision. We're going to go to the decision here. It was split decision for McGregor. I personally think that Diaz won the fight based on decision. Why? Conor did phenomenal in the first 2 rounds, and for a little bit in the 3rd round. I mean, he did great. He dropped him multiple times, several times. But see, the thing is, though, yeah, he dropped Nate several times, but he wasn't going to be able to finish him. Now, am I saying Nate physically couldn't get knocked out if Conor got on top of him and pounded him out? No. What I am saying is Conor wasn't going to take it to the ground. He wasn't going to even be able to have that opportunity, because he knew Nate Diaz has great jiu-jitsu, and Conor isn't that confident on the ground yet, and that's what we've seen. He had Nate rocked. All he had to do was get on top of him and maybe do some ground and pound, or just get them extra couple punches in that could have potentially ended the fight. But he backed off of Nate completely. He didn't even pressure him. He didn't even try to take it to the ground to get them extra punches. Because I'm sorry, you're not going to knock Nate Diaz out with 1 punch. And that's the thing here.
I kind of think McGregor was going to, like in his previous interviews, he was saying how he can be knocked out, but he's thinking McGregor's going to land that 1 punch knockout.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen. And even if Nate was rocked, Conor would have still just stood there and let him back up, because he knows if it goes to the ground, he's going to get submitted. So, but props to both fighters. It was a great fight. Now it's on to the trilogy. It's on to the 3rd fight. Conor McGregor says he wants it at 155.
Diaz agreed.
I think that's the right call. Now, from a Diaz fan and a person that, in my heart of hearts, believes that Diaz can beat McGregor in this trilogy fight, and the reason why I'm saying this is I noticed that Diaz is not as fast or as quick, and as far as getting in and out and being able to land his shots and generally moving as he is at 155. There's a reason why Nate Diaz is not a true 170-pound competitor. I mean, he has a frame to fight at 170, but he's not made out for that division. He has been fighting at 155 his whole career, and there's a reason for that. And so I think 155 would be great. I think Conor, he won't have to cut as much weight where he looks like a skeleton, and Nate Diaz can get in a little bit better shape and a little bit. He's not going to be held down by the excess weight that he's carrying compared to what he normally does. So.
See, and now it's going to be on Conor's term. Conor said, we fought in Diaz's terms at 170. Now it's his turn.
Right.
Now, can Conor win this 3rd fight on his terms at 55? I think it's going to be a great fight. Who knows who will win?
My early predictions for this 3rd fight. I'm sticking with Diaz. It's ride or die, and I'm riding on this one. I think Diaz is going to get done. And here's the reason that I'm saying Diaz is going to win the third fight. There's a lot of reasons to why I think things. Whether I'm right or wrong, there's a reason to it. And here's the reason. Nate Diaz is a true 155-pounder. Okay? That's going to help Nate out. He's going to be back in a weight that's good for him and his style of fighting and his build. Mm-hmm. He's going to be faster. He should be in better shape. And now Diaz knows his weaknesses against Conor. And, you're saying to yourself, well, what the hell? He should have known his weaknesses against Conor in the first fight because Conor tore him up in that first fight in the first round. Well, again, Diaz didn't have a full camp. He took the fight 11 days notice. He was considerably slow and rusty in that fight. And so he couldn't really judge, like, how good am I really when I have a full camp? How good am I really whenever, I get to prepare for this guy, this and that, blah, 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 blah. Well, and another thing, too, people thought it was kind of a fluke. Oh, yeah, Conor disconnected because Nate was, he wasn't ready, he wasn't trained, he was rusty, whatever. So, and I thought the same way. So that's out the window now. Now he knows, and he's fought Conor for 5 rounds. And he's been through the ups and downs. He's been hit with Conor's best, he's been dropped, and he's been able to prove that he can come back and take the fight over, which he did. And now that he knows that, he's going to know how to approach Conor. He's going to know what to do better. And this is Diaz's time to flip the coin now. Conor had everything laid out for him between the first fight and the second fight. This is what you need to do. This is what you did wrong. And Nate, going into this second fight, they're just saying, this is what you did right. This is what you just need to continue it. Oh, yeah, that first round against Conor, oh, yeah. He's not legit. You were just rusty, that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. He didn't know for sure. He didn't go 5 rounds with him, this and that, and he didn't have a camp. So now he knows for sure. And I think one of the keys is he's going to have to pressure Conor a little bit more. He's going to have to be a little bit more evasive in the first couple rounds. Yeah. And if he can just keep up the pace and stay in McGregor's face, I think he could take the trilogy. I really do. And especially grind it out. Take McGregor up against the cage. And for crying out loud, don't let McGregor just walk around the octagon, gassed out, going like this.
Yeah, I think that was kind of ridiculous for Nate. I mean, he was pointing and laughing while he was walking away, but I think he should still attack while he's being like kind of disrespectful for that. I don't know, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Nate will put it together, and I think another thing too, Nate was pretty busted up as well, and I think Nate was trying to get into McGregor's head saying, hey, come on, man, exchange with me so I can land that one combination I need to maybe, buckle your legs and take you out, but it didn't happen for him.
See, I think that was the big problem for Diaz. Conor McGregor did very well, busting up his legs and also cutting him wide open too. Conor landing multiple leg kicks in that fight was really a big factor in this fight. Conor's just constantly throwing powerful leg kicks on Diaz, which is slowing Nate Diaz down, slowing down his movement, not able to circle around a lot, but and also the cut that he received on his eye. I think that was really affecting his vision because you can see multiple times in that fight him wiping his eye. And that's really affecting his vision, what he can see during the fight.
Oh yeah, so I mean, and the leg kicks too. Like he just mentioned, the leg kicks really destroyed Nate there. He did a great job going through it, but Conor was limping after the fight. He was limping on his way out of the octagon. I don't think he's going to be really partying too much here directly after the fight because he might have broken his foot or something because Nate did check some of his kicks, and I think Nate knows now. Nate knows, okay, Conor's going to attack my lead leg. I'm going to focus more on checking him, and maybe in the third fight when Conor throws a couple of them kicks, it's going to affect him really bad instead of having that adrenaline carry you through the fight, he might actually check it so many times or just right where Conor, it affects him during the fight, and Nate can take advantage of that. So there's a lot of things Nate can do differently. I still think I believe Nate. I think Nate should have got the decision. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not trying to take anything away from McGregor. McGregor did a great job. He had a great game plan, perfect game plan for his style. I just think Nate Diaz is a nightmare of a fighter to go up against him. It's never going to be easy with Nate Diaz, and I think Nate Diaz will make the adjustments this time. Everything's now on Nate Diaz's plate, and he's going to deliver the third fight. I think he's going to take it. I'm not going to give an exact prediction, but I think Nate Diaz will take it.
And my big questioning for this possible third fight at 155, with Conor's conditioning and stuff like that, he's gassing out. In the third round, halfway through the third round, he's starting to slow down and just not your typical Conor, exploding, going after you and stuff like that like he normally is. He's gassing out, and Diaz is taking advantage to it. My question for this third fight, how is Conor's conditioning going to be cut into 155? Over these past 2 fights with Diaz, he's been working on his strength and bulking up pretty good. My question is how he's going to handle a weight cut and be able to fight. He's gassing out in the fight at 170. What's he going to be like at 155? I'm not saying he's going to gas out, but there's a good chance, there's a good possibility that will happen. And Diaz is a natural 155. He'll make that weight, and then he'll just, fight like he normally does.
All right, that wraps it up for us. This was the UFC 202 recap. McGregor Diaz. It was a classic. McGregor takes it. Split decision.